St. Louis Mayor Tishaura Jones is defending a proposed budget cut to police funding, calling it the right thing to do. The proposed spending plan would cut nearly 100 vacant police jobs and would reallocate that money to hire social workers instead. The newly elected mayor was sworn into the position just last month, and Jones ran on a progressive platform which called for the reimagining of public safety in a city grappling with issues of racial injustice. So let us bring in St. Louis Mayor Tishaura Jones this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. I do want to get to the historic nature of your election, but you really hit the ground running. You reallocated $4 million from the police budget. You expanded the power and influence of the Citizens Board that was supposed to be sort of overseeing police shootings that really didn't get a chance to do much of that work. You really sort of have begun to make good on your progressive agenda. I want to ask you, though, it's one thing to be campaigning on this kind of stuff. It's another thing to be sitting in the mayor's chair and starting to implement things. How are you being received now? I know it's been just a few months, but how's it going?
Well, thank you for having me. It's actually been a few weeks. Today is actually day number 28 of my mayoral administration, and we hit the ground running. We realized that we're in a position where we don't have time to waste and we have to act fast. The budget process started nearly the day after I was sworn in. And also in that budget, I zeroed funding for our city jail called the Workhouse, which is inhumane and needs to be closed. And advocates have been calling for its closure for decades.
So, Mayor, St. Louis has been home to many sites for movements against injustice, but more recently, it was one of the critical arenas for the Black Lives Matter movement. When it comes to making meaningful change to systemic racism, what role do you see St. Louis playing in that shift, and how do you see your administration moving that ball, moving that needle forward?
Well, you're right. St. Louis is the epicenter for the Black Lives Matter movement. It started in 2014 with the murder of Mike Brown. And advocates such as myself have been pushing for reforms to police, reforms to systemic racism, the systemic racism that permeates our policymaking decisions in every institution within our city. And we saw the opportunity to make change through elected office. It's not just me, it's Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner, it's Congresswoman Cori Bush, and several other elected officials who are now using our collective power to not, because we can't reform public safety, we have to transform public safety.
When it comes to public safety and police reform, a lot of it has been made about the sort of historic nature of you being elected, that you're a black woman, but it's not just that. It's that you're the mother of a black son, a newly minted 13-year-old. You are the child of a formerly incarcerated parent. It gives you a much more sort of personal view of what public safety needs to, what public safety needs to be to the public. How do those factors inform your view of public safety?
Well, they inform my view of public safety, and it informs my leadership, because my son thought that because I got elected mayor, then now he would be safe. And not that I want to give him a false sense of security, but it also leads my decision-making going forward, that how can we transform public safety in our police department to see our little black boys as children? We all know about the death of Adam Toledo, who's the same age as my son. Regardless of what you think of why he was out at 2:30 in the morning, he still didn't deserve to lose his life. So our children, our black children, need to be able to make mistakes and learn and grow from them. They shouldn't lose their life by simply making mistakes.
And we've been talking about this, but during your campaign, you didn't shy away from race. And I thought that was interesting, given the history of St. Louis. And of course, now you are one of several black female mayors to lead a major U.S. city. That's amazing. But why was it important for you to make this such a prominent aspect of your platform? And I guess the real important question is, what does your success tell us about where we are in this country when it comes to race and sex? I think a lot of people would like to be able to point to your candidacy and your election and say, you see, we're fixing things. But I don't know that you see it that way, even though you are a product of those successes.
Well, when I ran, I decided to show up as my authentic self. And who I am when I look in the mirror every day is a Black woman, a single mother raising a Black son in a city that is one of the most hyper-segregated cities in the country. And we have to embrace that and have those uncomfortable conversations, because if not, we will continue putting money towards the same old and tired solutions and expecting a different result. And that is the definition of insanity. People are losing their lives because we aren't changing our approach to public safety and how to keep people safe. So we have to do something different because people are still losing their lives every day.
But, Madam Mayor, what I think was very interesting about your campaign is that, we see a lot of Black politicians that acknowledge the role of racism and even maybe say, I have been the victim of racism at some point in time. But you said, I'm witnessing it right now. I'm the victim of racism right now. I don't like the way the Post-Dispatch has been covering me, and so I'm not going to participate anymore. I'm not going to do an interview with them. And it was a very sort of controversial decision that you made as a candidate not to do an interview with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, because that's what everyone has always done. And I've listened to interviews with you on that, and you were you were nervous about making that decision, and instead you wrote a really moving op-ed that went viral, that was really a game changer. But I want to ask you about making that decision, not just to acknowledge that racism is an issue, but that you are currently sort of the victim of racism, and whether or not you were concerned that that would alienate white voters. Because I think that happens a lot with Black politicians, that they think, well, I don't want to come off like I'm, a politician for the Black people, so I can't be too overt about it.
Well, nothing beats a failure but a try. And I had to show up as my authentic self. And if the voters didn't like that, then obviously they would not have voted. But I have been elected citywide 4 times. So obviously I'm doing something right by embracing who I am and my policies, because I often believe that if you solve for the problems of Black women, especially Black single mothers like myself, you solve everybody's problems. And so that's where my policy decisions lead from. How can we solve the problems of Black mothers in this country who want what everybody else wants? We want health care for our children. We want safe schools. We want quality education. We want opportunities for ourselves and for our children to thrive, not just survive.
I've always said, since I have been raised by a Black single mother, that there's nothing stronger, no substance stronger on the planet than whatever makes a single mother what she is. So thank you. And Mayor Tishaura Jones, really appreciate you giving us some time.
Yes, thank you for having me. Good to see you.